Yeah, we can hear you just fine, Ben.
Great, great. Okay, thank you so much for, again, taking the time out of your day and sitting into this webinar. We're going to go over today the professional display solutions for Sony Electronics. And you see my contact information below there, so if you want to please make a note of it. If you have any questions that we don't get to during the webinar or think of afterwards, certainly feel free to email me or call me. So what we're going to cover today is we're going to cover information on our business projectors. We're going to start with updates to our laser projector product line, and also include in there a new announcement on a new product, so kind of exciting stuff there. And then to finish up on projectors, we'll go through an overview of the complete projector offering, which will include lamp-based projectors as well. Then after that, we'll get into our Pro Bravia displays. Most of you probably having been using our consumer products are probably familiar with the Bravia line. So I think there's probably going to be some, not redundancy, but at least some basis of knowledge there, so that what we cover will be primarily differentiating things between our consumer and our professional line. Okay, so we'll go ahead and get started here. The projector solution updates. Before we do that, I just want to give you guys a little bit of history on Sony Electronics in the professional space. We developed 3 LCD projectors primarily for the professional space. I think the projectors that you're probably most familiar with from us in the consumer side are our SXRD. And so we use a slightly different technology within the professional space. But back in 2013, we launched the very first 3 LCD laser projector. And so, you know, since that point in time, I think we've shipped over 20,000 units to date of laser projectors. So we feel like Sony Electronics is certainly the leader in laser projection technology within the professional space. To that end, we've also introduced our 5th generation laser projector this year, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. But you can see from 2013 up until today, we've introduced almost each year a brand new piece to go into our professional lineup. Last year, we introduced our laser light projector, which is what we call it, which has been very, very successful for us. And I think you're going to find that piece to be an excellent piece to complement your current offering. It is tagged as the most affordable laser projector in the world, really, not just in the United States. So that piece is a 5,000 lumen laser projector with WUXGA resolution. And so in that class, there's nothing else that's going to be less expensive than that particular piece. Many, many awards we've won over the years for our laser projectors, but one that we're certainly very proud of that I don't think it's mentioned here is that Projector Central, the laser light last year, was awarded 5 stars for all categories. That's actually never happened from Projector Central, so quite an achievement we're very proud of. So from an introduction standpoint, we are introducing, as I said, our 5th generation laser projector this year, and that is a new 12,000 lumen and 9,000 lumen models. These are basically both the same resolution. Essentially, they share a chassis. The only difference between them is going to be your light output. Those will both be available later this year. shipping the 12,000 lumen in August and the 9,000 lumen in October. We will begin taking pre-orders for projects that require those projectors starting this month. So if you do have opportunities, certainly we encourage you to communicate with us. So looking at the 12,000 lumen, I don't think I'm enlightening anyone in terms of the types of applications that those are used for. Certainly we're talking about larger auditorium spaces where you have larger screens, etc. So pretty typical in terms of what you would expect those kinds of projectors to be used for. Similarly, we introduced a 9,000 lumen, again, to complement and round out our line of laser projectors. But we see that being used in slightly smaller spaces, but certainly in applications where you have a high amount of ambient light or there's no ability to control ambient light within the room. And so that high lumen output has the ability to overcome any kind of ambient light. One of the features that's unique to Sony, and I don't believe we even do this in our consumer line, is we have a function within our laser projector lineup that we refer to as constant brightness mode. And basically what constant brightness mode allows us to do is to deliver a consistent lumen output for an extended period of time. So as you guys are most familiar with in lamp technology, when you first turn on that projector, it begins to degrade the lamp or the brightness of that light source from minute one. And then eventually you get to what's called half brightness, and that's when we're supposed to change the lamps. And I think most of us try to achieve that, but as you know, many customers will put that off for quite some time until it becomes a problem. In any event, with laser technology, we have the ability to essentially maintain a consistent light output on that light source. And in order to do that, what we do is we reduce the maximum output capability of the projector, and that allows us to have a consistent light output for an extended period. So in this case, these two new models, the 12,000 lumen would go down to 10,000 lumens, and then we would deliver 10,000 lumens for 14,000 hours, or the first 14,000 hours of operation. And then for the 9,000 lumen model, we would reduce it to 8,000 lumens, but again, delivering that for the first 14,000 hours. A lot of people will ask, what happens after 14,000 hours? Well, the projector will begin to reduce brightness, certainly. And I don't have the number specifically in front of me, but between there and 20,000 hours, in case you're not aware, the laser technology offers a 20,000 hour light source life expectancy. So from that 14,000 hours out to 20,000 or the last 6,000 hours, it will lose brightness from that point. And we finish, I'm not sure on these new models what the number is, but typically we finish between 60 and 70% of the original brightness capacity. So at that 20,000 hours, we're finishing well above half brightness. And I think this is important because there are other manufacturers who deliver laser technology and they don't deliver it quite as efficiently as we feel we do, in that they're finishing at 50% half brightness, or in some cases even lower than half brightness at that 20,000 hour mark. So, it seems like such a long time out there, but we feel that's an important characteristic also to be aware of. So one of the things that we've done with this new family, or two new models that we're introducing, is we newly developed the panel and the optics for this particular two models. We're using a larger LCD panel in these, and then we also introduced what we call an optical compensator. So the panel is a 1-inch panel. I think typically those panels are something like 3/4 inch or somewhere in that range. So we did that for efficiency of the light, and then the optical compensator also is used for maintaining efficiency in that light and using that light, controlling it and keeping it within the optical path. And then also it is intended to enhance contrast on the projector as well. One of the big challenges that you have with a very bright projector is contrast in your black level specifically. It's very challenging to achieve that. And so at some point, I don't know how many of you go to Infocom, but that'll probably be your first opportunity to see that piece, unless we can coordinate something to bring it in for you guys up there at Capitol to demonstrate. I think you'd be quite impressed with the contrast capability of this, even knowing that I think most of you are familiar with consumer grade projection and home theater projection. So we're probably a little more critical on that end of it. But even with that additional sort of baseline comparison, I think you'll still be quite impressed. As I mentioned before, we are using larger panels, but one of the big benefits of 3LCD is that we feel it delivers the richest and most accurate color reproduction compared to the competing technology in the market, which is single chip DLP. To that end, one of the things that we're doing with this particular group of projectors, the 120L and the 90Ls, we're actually able to support 100% of the sRGB space. Prior to that point in time, we're very close on other models, but never achieved the 100%. And so with these new panels in this projector, we're actually achieving that. So very, very accurate and full color space in terms of gradation and options for reproducing color. So this is just a little chart that kind of gives you guys a little bit of a picture of the different technologies that we use within our display products. And as you are well aware, in the consumer side of things, and also in the digital cinema realm and our visualization products, we are using the SXRD panels, and of course delivering 4K resolution as well. But in the business projector category, we utilize 3LCD, as you can see, and then of course you have flat panels with LCD and OLED. But I think the important thing is that we take a lot of the technologies that we develop in different spaces for different applications, and we utilize those to enhance the value of the product. And so one of the things you're going to see here in this table is highlighting reality creation. And many of you are probably quite familiar with reality creation. We feel it's an outstanding technology that has been used, of course, in our flat panels and home theater projectors for quite some time, and finds its way into the business projectors as a very effective tool as well. Most of the time when I show reality creation to customers, they are blown away by it. So we like to point that out. And of course, we also incorporate the auto color calibration, which I believe started in our home cinema projectors. And so we're also carrying that through to our business projectors as well. You guys are very familiar with reality creation, so I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on this, but it's the exact same algorithm or technology that we used in the home theater and Bravia panels previously. So the idea is obviously to maintain detail while enhancing the resolution. So it's a pretty cool technology. In the auto color calibration, again, you're probably familiar with that, but maybe not as much because it is a relatively new feature on the home theater side of things. But this is set up in our Pro products to happen every 500 hours. And of course, the customer can turn that on or off. I don't know why they would turn it off, but if they chose to, they could turn it off and manually initiate that calibration whenever they wanted. So, and similarly, if you had some sort of a regular maintenance schedule, or maybe you've got a contract with the customer to do preventative maintenance, certainly that's a function that you could, incorporate into that preventative maintenance schedule. And so that would be one way you could achieve that, would be just by turning it off and then initiating it manually when you go to do your preventative maintenance. One of the things that we focus quite a bit on in the commercial space is to have the ability to adapt to different environments. As you can imagine, there's a lot of what we refer to as retrofit or replacement taking place. And of course, occasionally you have the new construction, but as a result of doing a lot of retrofit, you have to have the ability to adapt to the existing location where the projector mount and power and a source connection is within a room. And so lens shift is a very important part of that. We do, as you can see in the new models that are being introduced, have quite a large range of lens shift, vertically at 107% and horizontally at 60%. Even within our prior series models, we still had a strong amount of lens shift capability, and you can see that in the what we call our FHZ6 series or FWZ6 series. And then even in our basic installation laser light product, we have still a pretty decent amount of lens shift available there as well. So lens shift, of course, as you guys know, is important, in terms of allowing you to fit that image on the screen without the use of tilting the projector, right? Because just like in home theater, we want to avoid tilting the projector. Yes, we have tools like warping is one that we call, or keystoning is one that you might be more familiar with, that allow you to adjust